So, when do you want to? Let me know when you're ready to go. We're gonna change the channel.
How could you change the channel from the No Kidding Podcast with Lisa
And Andrew.
Thanks. I thought you were gonna leave me out.
Of course not. Never.
This gonna have to get out of here.
Wouldn't be the No Kidding Podcast without you.
Be awkward if you were like, and Adam, and somebody was like, hey, hi, I'm glad to have me.
Totally new voice, totally new person. Nobody ever cares.
And then I'm like, hello. That's what my stress dreams are about. So, how are you, audience? That's great.
Awkward silence. Great.
We'd love to hear it.
Yeah. Hope you're doing well.
So,
in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
here's the thing.
Yeah.
They said it's like the Mercedes of light switches, but I wouldn't get a Mercedes.
Oh, then don't get it. The light switch.
I'm getting it. No, I'm getting the light switch.
That's
so here's
a risk.
my problem. I'm doing a little bit of home renovation. It was exciting.
Woo-hoo.
I tore down a giant column. Would you call it a column? A beam. A beam would be the correct term for it. That ran across the middle of my house. Went ahead and double checked that it wasn't load bearing.
Cool.
And then knocked it on down. It was pretty intense.
That's always a good feeling, I feel like.
Knocking down your house?
No, just taking control of something like that and having the, I don't know, like the, just like the unrestrained ability to just destroy your own home if you want to.
I can do whatever I want. Tears apart the entire
Yes.
interior.
Right.
I am in the construction, or I should say reconstruction phase now, so that's nice. It's nice to see stuff come back together.
Okay.
But in part of that, I gotta put light switches in that are now new, that weren't there before. So I might as well get the smart switches that I was thinking of getting.
Yeah.
Here's the thing.
Okay.
I've had smart bulbs before, like Philips Hue, that kind of thing. Never had that actually. I usually use LifeX. Shout out. I mean, they're good. But that's because I've been in apartments. And I just wanted a simpler solution. Here's the thing about smart light bulbs. If you're getting into smart home automation, be wary of this caveat. If you turn off the light switch, you can't essentially use whatever smart automation techniques you have for operating your lights. Because otherwise, if you flick off the power to the light, then it can't turn itself back on. You got me?
I'm not following.
So, like, if you flip the switch at the wall, your light bulb has no more power.
Right.
So if you have a smart light bulb that, like, can do things based on, automations on whether you say, hey, voice assistant, turn on my light, or if you have it set to turn on at a certain time, all the nice things that you'd want a smart light bulb for, to pay, $60 for a light bulb rather than like the 10 cents or whatever you can get them for otherwise.
Okay, go ahead.
It's all undone by flipping the switch, So, you just have to be aware of that. You have to, if you have guests over or something, you got to be like, hey, cut it out. Stop using that switch. You got to use the magic word, or you got to press this button. You got to get this app.
So instead of getting a smart switch, you got a smart light bulb?
In the past, because I've been in apartment complexes and I just wanted like a simpler solution. And also it's fine for lamps, right? Because you never want to go over and like do this stupid thing with the little knob. It's never fun.
Okay.
So, just in the past, I have plenty of smart light bulbs, but here's the situation. I own a whole house now. You know how many light bulbs are in a house?
Yes.
A lot of light bulbs.
Quite
And
a
how
few.
many, what am I trying to say?
Outlets?
Outlets too, but like lamps and everything else, and they each cost like, potentially like $40 to $60 per light bulb. So that's the whole thing if you want to make them all smart. But there are less light switches, and it undoes that problem, because now if the switch is smart, the switch always has power going to it, and then it just decides whether to power the light bulbs.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, sure.
And also how much power to give them. You can dim regular old cheap light bulbs if you want. And then if the bulbs, ever burn out, I mean, like LEDs have like 20 years battery life, so I'm not too worried about it. But, you don't have to throw away your $60 light bulb. You can just plug in a new one.
Yeah.
You can also use regular bulbs if you wanted to use like fluorescent or, like get that warm glow of the incandescent. And I don't know, you don't like the faked version with the LEDs. You can do whatever you want. Edison bulbs, whatever.
Red bulbs, blue bulbs, purple bulbs.
Yeah, of course. So I've been looking into smart switches, and there's a lot of options, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, I keep getting routed back to people being like, you got to get the Lutron, what is it called? Caseta switches. Caseta. And basically, I keep finding like message boards and stuff where people are like, I don't want to buy these. Like, they're so expensive. And people are like, listen, it's the Mercedes of light switches.
But do you need the Mercedes?
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I don't own a Mercedes, so it sounds like you're telling me I shouldn't be buying these because I don't buy a Mercedes. I shouldn't buy these. But the more I look into it, the more impressed I am. I think it's worth it. I think they might be in the mail right now.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I'm excited. And it is actually kind of convenient because the electrician I had in there ended up he couldn't get some wires without doing some severe damage to the places they need to go to have light switches. So he was like, yeah, I have these little like remote ones, and he plugged them in. They were Lutron.
Oh, okay.
They weren't the Caseta ones, but they were like Pico. So, okay, this is another cool part of this system is they have Pico remotes. They look exactly like the switches that go into the wall, but as if you were able to pop them out and carry them around with you. And they basically pair to it. And they're just like a little remote control for your light switch. And you can take them wherever you want with you and like stick them wherever you want in the house and have a light switch that basically acts the same as the other light switch. So like if you're in a hallway and you only have one switch, you can put one at the other end. It's cool.
So it's portable? A portable switch?
Yeah. It's portable.
But how does it know
in your pocket if you want.
How does it know which light?
You pair it.
Oh, you pair it. It's like Wi-Fi.
Yeah, so you can pair like a Pico remote to one of your switches, and it's essentially that switch, but now it can go anywhere. You can stick it to your wall, like where it's more convenient, or you can like stick it on your coffee table, so you don't have to like get up and go turn off the thing when you're watching a movie.
Okay, but like if it's Wi-Fi, I mean, unless you have a majorly big house, well, why wouldn't you just put it? Like, how close does it have to be to you? Do you know what I mean? Like,
there's a physical switch that actually has wires plugged into, like it acts as the normal switch that's also smart, right? So you can control it with your phone. But then also you can walk up and press it just like a normal switch. And then, even if your Wi-Fi goes down, it still works like a normal switch. Like if you press the button, it still turns the lights on and off.
Right.
And all that good stuff. But then there's an extra Pico remote that you can pair. And that's actually a radio. I believe it's radio frequency. And so
the remote is what you carry around with you.
The remote can be carried around with you if you like to do that. But I don't know if I would ever commit my pocket to being, just the place for one light switch in my house. But
so you didn't? Did you get the Pico remote, or do you not? Or did you? Or was that was just another option?
The thing is, I'm investing in the system because I know it has all these options, right? So it has the Pico remotes. It has these really smart switches that can go all over the place. They can do dimming. They can, so they're actually push button. They're not, I keep calling them switches, but they're basically like a little panel of like, they look like 3 buttons. They're actually 4 buttons. One of them split. So one of them you can like adjust the brightness up and down, like it's a dimmer essentially. And then the top and bottom actually switch it on and off. But it's a pretty like simple looking, like very clean design. So
okay.
I think it's really obvious as well, which is nice because some of the smart switches can get like confusing and they're just like,
yeah,
I don't know. They have like a lot of dials and stuff. Like even like normal dimmers that aren't smart. Like sometimes they have like the switch, like the normal flip up and down switch, but then they have that like really tiny little like tab on the side that you can like adjust the light brightness with. And like sometimes you don't even notice it's there and you're like, there's a dimmer. That's why it's so dim in here.
Okay.
So yeah, I think it's really neat. And then obviously you control it with your phone and stuff. And I even saw one where it had a clip. This one it really like broadened my horizons. It has a clip for your visor in your car. What? Think about putting one of those Pico remotes there. So like when you're driving up to your house, you can press it and it'll turn on the porch light for you.
Oh, yeah. Really? So do you have a Pico remote, or you're thinking about getting one?
I'm just saying, like, the option's open. If I get the normal switches, then I will have the ability to pair a Pico remote whenever I decide I want one somewhere. I can just buy one and then pair it, and then I have that available to me. because it doesn't work unless you have the original like caseta like wall switches.
Oh, I see.
Because that's what it's got to pair to.
Oh, that's what you bought though.
Yeah, that's what I'm buying.
Okay.
So I'm buying the ones that actually go in the wall and plug into the physical wires.
Cool.
Which are pretty expensive. It's a bit uncomfortable that I'm paying that much for a light switch.
Yeah.
But it's going to solve all of my lighting home automation problems. And they have some interesting other additions. Like they have ones that work with outdoor smart plugs. So you can like control like your porch light or like a deck lighting if you have like fairy lights. And then they have more stuff for like sensors. So you can have like a motion sensor be able to turn on and off the lights depending on if somebody walks in the room. You can have smart fan controls. So you can hook up a fan to have an extra switch. And because like you can, even if like your fan doesn't have hardwired switches that go to a switch panel, like you could just have that remote that controls it. And since it looks exactly like the ones that are on the wall, you can stick it next to them and it looks like it's just a normal switch, like it was like any of the others, like plugged into the wall.
So that's what you mean by it being like a portable switch.
Yeah, it can go like wherever you want it to. It's really cool.
Even away from your home?
Yeah, I mean, you can't control once it's away from your home, it doesn't work. Like the only way it would work from your visor is if like you were pulling up to your house.
Okay. Yeah.
But it is like web capable from your phone.
Right, yeah.
So you can't control your lights.
So really you don't need the remote because you can just do it on your phone.
You could, but then it's the same kind of situation with like you would have to make sure you always have your phone with you first of all, and then also like you're driving home, you're pulling in, you don't want to like be like tapping around like trying to get you like to turn on your the lights in front of your garage so that you make sure the cat's not in the driveway or something, and then you're sitting there like out in front of your driveway like trying to find the app to turn on your smart lights or whatever.
Yeah, that's true.
Like you just have the button right there because every time you're pulling in you're going to want to do that. Just sit it right next to your garage door opener so you can press both at the same time.
True. Yeah, so we have the smart lights in our like the smart switches in our house. And we do actually have a Lutron switch. One.
Hey.
It's in our garage, like it's our laundry room technically. It's like a closed off connection to our garage.
Yeah.
And what's nice about it,
that's where I was thinking would be cool for a motion
that's
sensor.
What we have.
That's what
we have. So anytime like I have to go in and my arms are full or whatever, it just turns the light on for me and I just go in but the bad thing about it though is there's a range and the range doesn't completely cover the entire room. And so sometimes I'm like at the far end working, like putting stuff up on the shelf or whatever, because we also have like our storage there. So I'll be putting stuff up on the shelf. My hands are full and then the light will go off. And then I'll just be standing there in the dark and I'm like waving my elbow, trying to, like waving my foot or my elbow trying to turn my car on. It's usually good though. Most of the time it works nice, but you can also.
So as far as I know, I don't know which system you have. If you have the caseta and you have the whole hub and everything, like
we just have the Lutron for the one for that. For the other ones, everything is connected to what's called Control 4, and so it's kind of like a different system. But yeah, so Mike, my boyfriend, he does that as part of his job. He installs and programs all of that. Like for like usually high-end homes and stuff like that. So he does like full on like tons and tons of them in like a house that's huge. So
that's so cool.
Yeah.
I mean, like I know that I would get tired of that job eventually, but from the get-go, like it sounds like I would just have a blast going there and be like, oh no, I know what to set up this house. Whatever you had planned, forget it.
Yeah, I've got this whole idea. So yeah, and I could change like the colors and like I don't know, like it's super programmable. But yeah, he does different ones. He does Control 4, Lutron, and what's called, I think, Radio RA. And
Jet Set Radio Future.
What is it?
Jet Set Radio Future.
Maybe, yeah.
I'm just kidding. That's
okay. Yeah. Then I don't know. Something to do with radio or whatever. But he doesn't just do that. I mean, that's just one aspect of the job. So, yeah.
That's super cool. Yeah, I know. I think, well, I don't know. still I just ordered them, but it's my understanding that the Caseta version, like you can set up, like it's very customizable. So I think you should be able to set up, like I would have probably like a 30-minute timer. Like if you ever walked into the the laundry room, like it would stay on for 30 minutes even if nobody was in there.
Oh yeah, ours
and
is
then
not
it'll just turn
that.
itself
Yeah, it
off.
is programmable, but he has it for like probably, I don't know, maybe like a minute or 2 minutes maybe, and then it'll go off. But you can just turn that feature off. So like if I walk into the room and just push the button, it would stay on. Right. I just never think to do it because I'm so used to...
Right, because it's on.
Yeah.
It comes on and you're like, oh, good, I'm all good. And then you walk into the corner and it's like, oh, you're gone.
Yeah. So that's nice. But
that is cool.
It is such a good feature. Like, you don't really realize it until you have it, how convenient it is. Because, like, some people might be listening and thinking, like, a light switch is like, just go up and touch the light switch. Like,
this is my whole experience with talking with people about home automation. Inevitably, somebody's like, why don't you just do it? Why don't you just press the switch? It's like, you don't understand. Like, you don't, like, I'm not crazy. I know I sound like a rambling, crazy lunatic, but people be like, why don't you just vacuum your own floor? Like, why do you have a robot to do it? It's like, just do it. Just get a robot and have it, like, get the kind that empties its own bin. You will be like, oh my God, this floor is clean every day when I come home from work and I have to do nothing.
Yes. That's true. And it's weird, but like, I'm sure there's people that will like be in a situation and they'll be sitting there thinking like, oh, I wish I could just push a button and have this happen. Like turning off the light or like anything. Like, I don't know. There's so many things, and it's not until you have it that you kind of like, once you don't have it, then you miss it. I don't know.
And you realize what a value it is. Like what I've installed like underlighting for my bed that's motion activated.
Oh, that's so
like
nice.
When you get up to go to the bathroom at night, it just like at the lowest light level, it doesn't like not enough to wake anybody up, but just enough that you can actually see the floor and like where you're walking. It's like amazing.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, maybe I'll do that next. I don't know, but I have like there's a patio right off of my bedroom, and so I have like twinkle lights on my patio. Like on one of the walls, essentially, of my patio is like, they're basically fairy lights, but they're called like, they're Christmas lights, basically. They're white Christmas lights.
Cute.
Anyways,
yeah, I love
they
that.
are censored so that like they come on when it's dark and they go off when it turns light. So they're on, and they're only on for like a certain amount of time. So they go off at some point during the night, but it's way after I go to bed. Anyways, but the point being, they're on, and so they shine kind of in my room a little bit. So it's kind of like a little night light. So I can always have a little bit of light in my room. That's not why I do it. It's just kind of I just kind of figured that out after the fact. But
hey, if it works,
yeah,
it works.
That's kind of what I use when I need to like walk around or whatever. But another thing that we have, which you have to get if you are doing things for your house or whatever, is an electronic door opener, garage door opener. You don't have a garage, do you? Oh,
no,
okay.
Well, I have a carport.
Oh, okay, never mind. Well,
yeah.
So I feel like maybe mom needs this then, because, well, maybe she doesn't, because she doesn't really go in and out of it that much. But anybody who uses their garage regularly needs to get this, because it's just like the light thing. Once you have it, you will be like, why have I never had this before? It's such a convenient thing. It's like, I mean, obviously you have garage door opener that you like push and it opens and closes it, but you can control it from your phone. You can get alerts like if it's ever open or left open. Like so many times where, like you're busy and you're doing stuff and you go inside and you forget to go close the garage, and it could be open all night long, but it'll alert you and say, hey, your garage door is still open. And it's like, oh, I got to close the garage. Or if you...
Yeah, that's another nice thing. Like even for the lights, like you can have automatic alerts come on that's like, hey, you left the lights on in a room that doesn't appear there's an emotion.
Oh, yeah, true. It's just so convenient. I don't know. And like we'll take the bikes out and we'll go for a bike ride or something. And rather than having to go back in, close the garage, go out the front door and leave or whatever, we just close it while we're riding our bikes away, because we don't have a garage door opener on our bike. I mean, I guess we could always program one for that, but and then also when we come back, we just open our phone and open the garage, and by the time we get to the house, it's open. It's just kind of nice, but yeah,
very cool.
It can be excessive. Like there's certain things you probably don't need, but like, because we don't have a smart switch on every single light. Like I don't have one on my bedroom light.
Oh, that's the most important
I know. Everybody says
the
that.
times where you snuggle in a bed and you're like, oh, I'm so oh, I forgot the lights
but
on.
I'll be honest, like I don't ever turn my bedroom light on. I just never do. So it wasn't like one of those things. But I used to always leave the back patio light on. Like I don't know what it was, but in my brain I would turn it on when I would go out there, but I would never remember to turn it off. And then I'd be in bed, like falling asleep and think, oh, the patio light.
Oh, darn.
And I'd have to get up and go out. And like, it was a whole thing. So now I just like, oh, the patio. Oh, just boop, there, turn it off. So I don't know.
You're like, voice assistant, take care of this.
Yeah. I mean, it is kind of a lazy man's thing. But at the same time,
everybody needs to be more of a lazy man.
You can make up the activity somewhere else. Like, we live in a busy world now. It's like,
Yeah, exactly. The thing is, like, people are like, oh, see, you're just being lazy. It's like, but then you don't realize how awesome it is when you're in the middle of being like super productive and like you were saying, like running around, like trying to get the laundry done, and then you like, fumble with the door and finally get it open, and the light just comes on for you.
Yeah, it's just so nice. It is. It's so nice, and it also is energy saving because. Sometimes it just like we have ours programmed to turn off at a certain time every day and turn on at a certain time. Like, so like if we know that we're going to be in a room at a certain time, it's on. And then like if we leave the house and like forget to turn the lights off, it'll turn off automatically. And that's the same with our air conditioner. Like our air conditioner we have a Nest, so it's programmable. Right. And so same thing, like it's programmed to be off during the day when we're not home, and then it turns on when we're driving home from work. And like we save so much on electricity because of that. And we noticed it because we had it at the house we were renting at, and we just noticed like how much of a savings it was. So when we got this house, we were like, we're definitely getting one for the house because it really is helpful.
I have like one of the things that I was looking at getting was energy monitor. So there's these devices that you can get that will monitor the energy that your whole home is using, and like basically give you a real-time feed of like how much you're using right now, how much you've used over the week, and like give you the full like breakdown of it. And like it'll make it really easy to plan things like, okay, here's the problem areas where I'm using like a lot of energy. It was interesting. I saw a video by this guy. It was kind of it's an interesting concept. I wouldn't say it's for everybody, but it was a really fascinating. He has a fascinating YouTube channel. It's called Technology Connections. I don't know if you've ever seen it before, but nope. We're getting back into YouTube, Rex. But he does a bunch of like interesting videos just about like everyday items you have in your home. Like he'll explain like specifically how like all the thought that went into like how a dishwasher is made or something.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so it's just like stuff like that. And he did an interesting kind of like different sort of video for his channel where he talked about how he basically uses his home as a thermal battery.
Oh.
And he saves a whole bunch of money on energy basically by he opted in for his with his energy company to be charged based on availability of energy. So like you can opt into like you get charged more during peak hours and less during off hours. So essentially because normally they just kind of average it out so that they, get the value from everybody evenly. Like it doesn't matter when you use your power, it just matters how much power you use. They just kind of average it like that. But you can say like, no, charge me based on like the time I use the power. So like it's more expensive for the energy company to deliver you power at like 6:00 because that's when everybody's getting home, everybody's turning on their TVs, everybody's starting to cook dinner.
Yeah.
And there's like a big demand there. So they you can opt in to basically have like say the middle of the night be super cheap, but like 6:00 be sort of expensive. And so what he does is he basically says like, I really like to sleep chilly. So what he does is he sets his AC to basically like freeze his house during the day or during the night, like to where it gets down to like 60 degrees. Mm-hmm. And then he like gets up and goes to work, and all day he shuts off his AC, and it doesn't have to turn on again because he's got like decent insulation, I guess.
Yeah.
Until like he can come home and he does everything, and it never gets above like 75 before like 10:00 at night when the prices drop way back down again, and then he can it just kicks back on at that time and gets it freezing again. By the time he goes to sleep, like it's still only like 70 degrees, but then by like the morning it's like 60 again, and he says he loves waking up to like a chilly morning. That's just like his way of doing things. I guess you could just have to be that kind of person if you're gonna have that system. But
well,
it was an interesting idea.
That's very similar to what we do. He must not live in Florida though. That's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, I think he lives in the Midwest. I think he's like Michigan or something.
Yeah. But because we really like it cold at night, but what we do is we've programmed it to incrementally get cooler as it gets closer and closer to bedtime, so that by the time it's bedtime, it's fairly cold. It's like, I mean, it's not
Nice.
60s. It's like, I don't know, probably 70 at the lowest. I don't know exactly, but it gets pretty cold. And then during the night while we're sleeping, it starts to incrementally get warmer because, like, technically you don't actually wake up because of the light that shines through your room. You wake up because of the warmth. That's biologically, that's like what they've shown is that that's
another great thing about automation. Like you can automate all of that, circadian rhythm stuff. Like you can have your bulbs turn like more and more orange as it like gets later in the day. And you can have like, like you said, like the temperature change. You can have like, even when you're waking up in the morning, like help you get out of your REM sleep by, having like the light comes on that's another thing by Lutron. They have automated window blinds. So you can have your blinds automatically come up. You can have your temperature rise.
Yeah, that's nice. I don't have automated. That would be nice though. But yeah, so and then when we in the morning, by the time we're awake, it turns off. Well, during the workday, it turns off and then doesn't come back on until the evening when we're home. So it's nice. It does save a lot, and we are fortunate in that we also do have a very good insulated home, and we actually don't have many windows in our house, which I never really thought about until after we moved in. But we have like
the dungeon.
Well, we're not a dungeon, but we have like French doors that go out to the patio, and we have French doors that go out to like the side of the house. Those are like the only
They're strategically placed windows.
Yeah, but we literally only have, let me think, 1, 2. We have two windows in our entire house, and they're both in my room. They're in my bathroom, and my actual bedroom has like a very nice big open window. It's like the full length of the wall, basically. But it's like higher, so it's not the full length of the wall as far as like the height.
The other bedroom has no window?
No, the other bedroom does not have a window, but it does have French doors that go out to a patio. Okay. So, and then we have the French doors.
Very nice with all the French doors.
Yeah, we have like a lot. I don't know. That was like, I think they took out all the windows and put in doors.
And they're like, who needs windows when you have doors?
Yeah. But so I guess technically we have windows because there's windows on the doors. But I mean, it's all covered because it's, I don't know. Anyways, so we don't get like a lot of sun. And we're also the house is positioned in a way where we don't get a lot of direct sunlight for very long. Like we do get some like mid-morning, but then after that it's kind of just right above. The one bad thing, and maybe we've talked about this before, but the one bad thing is that our pipes are in the ceiling of our house. So
yeah, I've got
it's always hot. Like the water is always hot. It's like you turn it on and instead of waiting for it to get hot, you wait for it to get cold.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So I assume, okay, you have an attic, and then I assume like the insulation is like right on top of the ceiling essentially.
Yeah.
Like, so your attic is really hot.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. My insulation is actually right up against the roof, so my attic is actually a really decent temperature. I was dreading climbing up there to run like networking cables, but I was up there and I was like, oh yeah, it's actually pretty nice in here.
That's nice.
Stays nice because the AC leaks on up there. Like obviously the more I was in there, the warmer it got just for my body heat because there's no like vent up there. But
well, maybe in the future we'll have to put some insulation on the actual roof, not like against
I don't know. I wonder why they don't do it. Like I guess it's more surface area you have to cover.
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah,
really.
because Pythagorean theorem and all that. But interesting.
Sometimes it can get kind of jarring when you turn the water on to wash your hands and you're like burned. I'm like, okay, I'll just
whoa, that hot?
Wait a second. Really? Yeah, it can get pretty hot. I mean, it's not enough to like scar me or anything, but it is shocking. It's like, that's hot.
Oh man, do you have I don't know, the water thing on your fridge?
Yeah.
Trying to remember.
We do.
Okay, so does that come out like really warm after the first couple seconds?
No, that's cold, but I think I think it's cooled from the refrigerator.
Yeah.
So
The case with mine though is like it's cool. It's cooled by the refrigerator, but only for the amount of like line that is in the refrigerator, which isn't that much. So it's like not quite enough to fill a glass, and then it goes back to being like tepid.
Oh, okay.
So it always comes out like kind of cold, like a little bit cold, but
right.
Yeah, and especially if you're filling up a big thing, or like if you're filling up multiple glasses, by the end you're basically just like getting filtered water out of the tap.
Yes. But can we talk for a second about the ice maker? Because, like...
Let's talk about the ice maker.
When you put your cup up to get ice out of the refrigerator, are you somebody who...
And we all hear that familiar sound of...
and then it comes out, yeah. It's very loud and obnoxious. But, well, first I'll say, do you take your ice out? Do you open the fridge and, like, take your ice out of the top of the, like, where all the ice is? Or do you put your cup to the door and have it all fall out?
It depends if there's already liquid in my cup.
Oh, true.
So I will if I'm just filling an empty cup, I'll use the dispenser. But yeah, if there's a lot of times, I wonder why I do that. I don't know. A lot of times I just want to put the ice in afterwards. I feel like it's an afterthought. Like, because I don't really like ice that much. I don't get it that often.
Either.
So if I decide that I want ice in my drink, it's usually because my drink is particularly warm and I want to cool it off.
I only use it for some things.
Or a lot of times I use it to cool off things that are like way too hot. If I get like a coffee or something and I'm like, this is going to take like an hour to cool down to a temperature that I'll drink it. Yeah. So I just plop an ice cube in there or something. So I obviously don't want to stick that under the thing.
True.
So yeah, a lot of the time mine's full. So I end up just grabbing it with my hand, which I feel like gets like germs in there or something. Like I always want the thing to be clean and like not have people's hands in it. But,
I know.
So I'm too lazy to go wash my hands just to get a piece of ice.
That's kind of like, I mean, it's not a big deal, but it is something that Mike and I differ on. And that is like, because he's the cup to the door person. And I don't like the sound. It like, if it's an empty cup, I just like the sound of it crashing in there is too jarring for my ears. So I always open it and just grab a couple and then do that. But he's like, no, you have to get the ones at the bottom because the ones at the bottom are the oldest. And so they have to be used first, because if you don't use them first, then it doesn't like rotate enough, and then it gets dirty in there.
Well, also it like solidifies.
Yeah.
Like if you ever had like ice in a bucket for a while, like it eventually just kind of slowly turns into one massive block of ice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like that, I guess the cycling through. But some ice makers though have like that like corkscrew thing going on at the bottom that like agitates the like bottom.
Well,
so yeah, you definitely should run it every now and then.
Right.
But I don't think it's like you can't use the top because then the bottom ones will get old. If at least one person in the household is using the ice maker,
I don't use it enough for it
fine.
to be a big deal. Anyways, that's my
yeah, exactly.
What is it called? Justification, defense.
Yeah.
But so that's his pet peeve. But my pet peeve is like when he does get ice, he gets it in like containers or like he puts it in where the opening to the drink thing, either a thermos or cup or whatever, is too small for that. So like half of the ice cubes fall on the floor because he like puts it up there and then they fall out. And he says that it's inconsistent. So like sometimes it'll drop like 2 at a time, but then other times it'll drop like 6 at a time, So it gets, anyways, he always says it's when there's like a ton that drops, but he'll put it up there and it's like not a very big pole. So they all come out and then they like 3 of them make it into his cup, and then the rest fall onto the ground. And it's like, the sound of it coming out is annoying. The sound of it dropping into the container is annoying. But then the sound of it actually falling onto the floor, again, is just annoying. And then you have to pick it up and throw it in the sink. And it's like...
You have a lot of peeves.
Oh my gosh. Like, it went from being one little annoying thing to now being a whole production of annoyance. It's like,
We need to automate this somehow.
I'm like, can you put it?
I like how we have this thing making us ice and delivering it to our cup, and we still need to automate it somewhere.
I know, right? We're so spoiled.
We got to have something. Here's the thing. We got to have something that'll keep the ice at the bottom.
What do you mean?
I hate that ice is always floating up in my face. That's what I hate most about ice. It's always in my way.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to sip on it, and then like the almost melted pieces are getting sucked up, or the big fat pieces are blocking the water. So I'm like trying to take a gulp, and I'm having to like do these little sips.
Yes.
I basically got to. Like the little crescent ones are like the exact shape of my pursed lips. So I'm like trying to sip, and it's like
I know, and they always turn exactly to where it fits, like securely into your lip. It's not, and then you try to turn it back the other way and it won't go. I feel you.
And then somebody looks over while I'm like thumbing my tongue down the thing to try and push it away. And I'm like,
yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. And then of course the whole, like when you get down to the end and you try to get that last bit and it falls in your face. The
oh yeah, they get stuck at the bottom and then you're like, oh, I got to get the last little, and then bam, you get a face full of ice.
Oh, it's always a
bad
gamble.
Times. There's got to be like a, you know how they have those things for steeping tea? Well, maybe I just should use those. Yeah, I should use those.
Yeah, sure.
You ever see those ones for steeping tea where there's like a cage at the bottom of the glass that you can fill with like tea bags, and then so
they're kind of small though. Can you really put ice in there?
Yeah, that's the problem. You need a bigger one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, all right. I feel you.
Or just like something else cold. I know they have like whiskey stones and stuff, but can they make like, I don't know, something that holds the heat better, or the negative thermal energy better, the absence of thermal energy
I'm sure
better?
they have ones that do. Yeah, I mean, like if you just get one of those.
I think they have like silicone ice pack ones that are shaped like ice cubes, but I bet those pick up freezer taste. You know what I'm talking about?
One thing that Mike does, because he's a big ice person apparently, I'm learning.
Big ice person.
He has these silicone cups that are just like regular size cups, and he fills them with water and he freezes it, and then it's like the perfect size for one of his thermoses. Like he has multiple ones, but the one that he uses in the house, the other thermos, the one that drops all the ice, that one he takes with him to work because it's like bigger and longer and holds more. But the other one that he keeps at the house has like, it's more wide brimmed, but he has this, so it's basically like he freezes a piece of, it's like a cup, and so the ice is shaped like a cup, and he puts it in, and so it never really gets small enough to get in the way or really do anything. It's just he seems thrilled with that, so maybe that's a
the
an
perfect
answer.
design.
I don't know, but that's an idea. Just get get a cup that's bigger than a normal size cup, and then freeze a normal size silicone cup of ice, and then put that inside your bigger cup, and then there you go.
Did I tell you how I made my own boba? Do we have this discussion?
No, not the boba. No,
I've made my own.
I don't think you've told me.
I've crafted it with my two hands.
How?
It's actually kind of complicated.
Did you have a mold?
Like, they baited me.
Oh.
No, I did not. They baited me because it looks so simple. It's like 2 ingredients, but it's all technique. Those are the difficult ones.
Okay.
It's all about like, you gotta be quick and you gotta be ready. 2 things.
Quick
that
and ready.
I'm a very
it doesn't fit your personality.
Yeah, I'm a very plodding individual when it comes to cooking. I set everything out and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna add this, and then I'm gonna add this, and I'm gonna wait. And usually stuff gets a little overcooked because I'm like, I don't know what to do next. Let me think about it. But yeah, so you have to work with the dough while it's hot, which is also usually a little too hot for your hands, to be quite honest.
Yikes.
So it's an ordeal, but it came out. It was pretty good.
What flavor?
It also takes
a
long time. I mean, they're just made with like tapioca and brown sugar. So it's brown sugar flavored, I guess.
Okay.
Usually it's the like whatever like syrup or tea you make with it is like provides most of the flavor. It's just kind of like a sweet treat to go along with it.
Okay. Did you make like
it's like a sugar cube in your tea, you know?
Was it the right size?
No. It was. Did we talk about this?
No, we didn't, but I can only imagine that it would be bigger than normal.
Yeah, so they were like, okay, it will shrink a little during cooking. So I was like, okay, I'll make them a little big, but I made them too big. They still were too big. Okay. I feel like they didn't shrink either.
I just feel like that would be my mistake if I were doing it. I'm like, I know I'm going to make it too big.
Yeah, I should have made them like really tiny because mini boba is a thing. And I think that kind of contributed to a few of them were like a little undercooked in the very center. So I think if it was just a little bit smaller, it would have been the perfect cooked all the way through. But it is also, it does take a long time. Like,
How long?
It takes a while to, so, I mean, it takes like probably 20 minutes to make the dough itself.
Yikes.
And then you can save that like it is. Like you can like plastic wrap it and put it in the fridge or freezer. But then it takes like at least an hour to cook them into a form that will work for being in tea.
My gosh, I'm out.
Yeah. So like boba is a very like quick thing. Like it's a snack almost. Like
Yeah.
it's something that you want to have. Oh, I'm feeling like some boba like after lunch. I'll just whip some up. No, you gotta like put them you gotta boil them for like
And
an
how
hour.
long?
I mean, granted, there's not a lot you gotta do. They just boil.
Right, but you have to watch it and
Yeah, you gotta be there
Yeah.
and like stare at a boiling pot of water. I mean, I guess I have seen some places where people will say you can like freeze the fully cooked boba for quite a while, or like keep it in a syrup for in the fridge for like a little while.
Yeah.
But almost everybody recommends that you store them in like the dough phase.
because I was gonna say that was my next question. Like, how long do they last after you make them? Do you have to eat them immediately, or can they last a couple days?
Apparently, the dough, if you freeze it, it's indefinite. Like you're pretty much good to go
Okay.
as long as it's not growing mold or anything. But apparently, it lasts a very long time.
Yeah, but like after
And
I'm
then-
talking about like after you cook it and everything. Let's say you made
Oh
tea.
yeah. So my longest test, I left one in a spoon with just a little bit of plastic wrap over it on the counter for over 24 hours, and it was exactly the same as I cooked it
Oh,
before.
okay. That's not bad.
So yeah, it was
And a
still good.
spoon.
Honestly, because I've had boba that's like 12 hours old that was in a drink, and it kind of gets awful. I think
Yeah.
it's just because it's in a liquid and it's like
Soggy and-
it's missing with them. Well, it's weird. I feel like they get harder.
Oh, really?
At least, yeah. Like I had one just the other day from the place near me, Lakey. It was like 12 hours old, and I sucked one up, and it was like kind of chalky in the middle.
Oh.
Yeah, and that's what was happening. Like there was a little bit of like crumbliness, in the ones that like were like the biggest ones I had that were like massively oversized.
Yeah.
In the batch I made, they kind of get like crumbly in the middle
Okay.
if they're not cooked well enough.
Well, I was gonna say, because you were saying how they contribute to things. I was like, do you think they contribute to a lot of choking hazards? Because it seems like the perfect size, especially yours, probably because
Maybe for like a child.
yeah, like
I feel like a hot dog's more like the size for mine's the giant one. Maybe.
well, I don't know. Whatever you're
Yeah,
into.
I think it would be a blockage perhaps. I don't think somebody could like fully die from it. I don't know. Maybe for like I said, for a child or something.
Well,
I introduced my friend to boba just like this weekend. One of my friends.
are you in?
He had it for the first time. He was just kind of like, yeah, it's a thing. He neither agreed or disagreed. I feel like up till now it's been a very divisive topic. People have either loved it or hate it. He's the first person I've really seen that tried it and was like, yeah, okay. Like, this is a new experience for you. This isn't blowing your mind or anything. You're not like having either a vaulting or exalting experience of this. He was like, no, it's food, I guess, or a drink, or both.
That's funny. I mean, obviously, my take on it. So I am curious to know what new
discussed.
people think of it. And if he has like he doesn't have a positive nor negative reaction. I feel like you would have one or the other. Like you can't be in the middle.
That's what I'm saying.
It's just so strange.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's such an odd thing that you can't just. I feel like the only time you're ever in the middle with something is if it's like totally expected, right?
Right.
Like if you have a thing and you're like, yeah, I knew exactly what this was going to be. Like I handed it to him. He didn't even really understand what it was. We're getting you boba. He's like, what's that? And we're like, it's a drink. So it wasn't like he was like, oh yeah, it's exactly what I was expecting, to suck up like giant balls in my mouth. He was just like, huh.
That is so weird.
It was like, okay,
yeah, you'd be like,
interesting.
I need you to have a stronger reaction to this experience.
I need you to feel like you just did something,
Yeah. It's like, they jumped off of have you seen that? There's this swing that drops you off of like a side of a mountain in Colorado, and then it just swings you like in the middle of a canyon, and then it brings you back up. Anyways, we've watched a couple of these videos because there are some crazy reactions, but I would just imagine like somebody not having a reaction to that and just be like, whatever, it was okay.
Yeah, like skydiving or something, being like, huh, guess I'm falling now.
But it's pretty crazy though, because I'm watching these things and I'm thinking, it's pretty. I mean, maybe it's a good sign, or I don't know what it is, but So every single person at the beginning freaks out. Like they're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to die. What did I do? Why am I here? What was I thinking? Like most of them are crying or screaming at this point or like dissenting. They don't want to do it. And they'll say, never mind, but at that point, there's a certain point where they can't go back, So anyways.
You have messed up.
And then they drop them and their faces, pure terror, like clearly they're rethinking their entire existence at this point. And then for some reason, there's a point, and I don't know exactly when it is because it's hard to tell from like the videos where they are in the process. But there's a point where their demeanor changes like immediately, and they become happy, and they're happy, and they're smiling, and they're like, "This is amazing," and then they're like exhilarated, and they're having fun, and it's like, how do you go from that like extreme pure terror to suddenly being like, this is the best thing? Like, because most of the time I'm thinking, oh, this person's going to like have trauma the rest of their life, like this is going to like affect them. I don't know.
I think it's the moment you realize you've survived. It gives you like such a huge high that you're like on top of the world, literally, as you're swinging through this canyon.
It must be. So I don't know.
You're like, okay, I'm not gonna die from this. Okay, woohoo!
I know, it's great, but it also makes me think like, how many things in life are you terrified to do that you're not doing them? You're like preventing yourself from doing. You're talking yourself out of doing them. When if you just do them, then you'll get to that point where you're like, oh my God, I'm so happy I did this thing. You know what I mean? Like, I wonder how many things in life.
Face your fears.
Yeah, it's kind of that's what it made me think of when I saw that. I was like, what? Like, it was just weird. It was just so weird to see their reactions change so polarizing. It's like, anyway, you guys got to look that up. I think it's called, what was the name of this swing it's a swing in Colorado. It's on YouTube. I'm sure there's lots of videos about it. But one of them was like a kid, and he was like terrified. He was crying and like having a panic attack, essentially. And I'm like,
right.
Is this, I was thinking like, is this child abuse? Like, I think, and the guy.
Or did his parent force the guy onto the.
Yeah. And the worst part is the guy who's operating the thing is behind him, like getting everything ready. And he's just laughing.
Got
like,
him.
Oh my God.
You're getting got.
Yeah. I'm like, that's horrible, this guy. And he's like laughing at this poor kid, and it turns out to be fine, but obviously. And then I'm like, oh, I'm so glad the kid went. Like after that, I'm like, no, he's gonna be traumatized. But he wasn't. He was like so thrilled. It's called the Terror Dactyl. So it's terror as in terror, and then dactyl, canyon swing. Anyway, like awesome. They're terrified, most people. I mean, I'm sure they only post the ones that are terrified, but
right, those are the best reactions.
Probably.
So face your fears, people, especially anything that like keeps you up.
Yeah,
keeps you up at night. I feel like if you just explore them a little more, you might be okay.
True. Yeah.
Now watch people go out and try and face their fears and become even more afraid of them. Here's the thing. Have you ever felt like a jerk because you didn't correctly assess how much somebody was afraid of something?
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, there's times where I second guess things, but then in the end, it does tend to work out. I'm trying to think of a situation. Have you? I'm sure you're probably thinking of something.
Well, obviously that I was in a situation where, how I imagine the situation would go is that this person had talked about how they were afraid of deep water. And I was like, oh yeah. I was like, I totally get that feeling. Cause like I've been out on boats. I've been out, like you jump into like the water and it's just this black abyss and you're just like floating in like this wide open like black space and anything could be down there. And you get that feeling like coming up the base of your spine. And I'm expecting them to just be like, yeah, exactly. That's exactly how I feel. It's like, but they were like literally looking at me like terrified. Like I just like triggered them so hard. No. I was like, oh God, I've done something
terrible. I'm a horrible human being. I will say that, like with our nephew Caleb, and our niece Paige, sometimes like I've been in situations with them and they're faint. Like I've never been the one to push them that like to that point, but like their parents will, and so it's like they're clearly upset, like not upset, but like what's the word? Just like scared. And then they're like, no, you can do it. Like they can encourage them and they end up doing it. And then they typically end up happy or like like a roller coaster or something. Like if a kid's scared of a roller coaster and you're like, no, but trust me, you'll like it. And then you hope that they'll like it, but there are probably kids that do not like it. Like they end up like, no, I'm never going on that again.
It's like, put all of your faith in me. I am an adult. You can trust.
And then they lose all trust in you whatsoever. Yeah.
And then they're like, thanks a lot. They're like weeping at the end of it, and you're like, I thought you would get over it.
I feel like Dad did that to me. I don't know about you, but I'm sure he did it because he did it to all of us, where he was...
Yeah, he was very much kick you off the cliff, like, hey, you'll learn to fly in the wind.
And I can remember a few times where I was like, I was still like pissed after that. I'm like, no, I'm still mad. I'm like, I did not enjoy that. Like, so from my...
He seemed to shrug it off okay.
I can say from my perspective.
He's like,
he's like, you're fine. But, yeah.
You'll be okay.
Exactly. Speaking of cliffs and Dad and all that, I recently came across, like, pictures of the Southwest trip that we took. You weren't there. It was just Tim and me and... because you were Mom was pregnant with you at that time, and so that's why she didn't come, because she was
the old I didn't exist excuse. Great.
I think it was planned before she knew she was pregnant, and then she got pregnant, and then
which was unplanned.
Well, I don't. I'm not gonna. Let's not talk about. Well, I don't know. Anyways, that's on them. Anyway, so we went on this trip. It was before you, but anyway, so. But I was like, it was like 1990, I guess, because she was pregnant with you. So, and because you were born in 91, right?
Checks out.
Is that right? Yeah. Okay. So I think it was like late summer, like August or something, like September maybe. And anyway, so we went on this trip. We drove from Florida all the way to, I think Nevada was the farthest we went. We didn't get to freaking California. So I've never been to California, but you have. Hey,
I'm going to go next month.
Yeah, and you're about to go.
I'll bring you back some dirt, and then you can stand on it.
Thank you. That's all I ever wanted was dirt. California.
You're welcome.
But anyway, the whole point of this is that I was just thinking, like, well, they were all taken on 35mm cameras. So I'm loving this vibe. So I'm like thinking, I need to get myself a 35mm camera and just start taking pictures like that and developing them, because it's a whole magical, like whole different, it's like time travel. It's kind of like time travel. So it's like very nostalgic and whatever. But anyway, and the second thing I noticed was I have like Peter Pan syndrome. I have not changed at all since that trip. I dress the same. I wear my hair the same. I'm essentially the same person. And I'm like, You're
like the Keanu Reeves meme where they show him through like several centuries. He hasn't changed a bit.
I guess. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to pat myself on the back as far as like looks go, but I mean, yeah, I feel like I'm just a grown-up kid, because I still like doing the same things, and we're literally traveling there next month, like pretty much. So it's just weird. It's like, it's weird to be the same place, that much difference in time to be like the same.
If you really want to recapture the same vibes, you have to recapture the disappointment of never crossing the border into California.
We will, because we're not going to California. I'm so bummed. I know.
It's like 2 hours if you're like in Las Vegas.
We are. We're flying into Vegas.
Just cross the border, get out, stand on Californian soil, and then drive off.
I need to. And another thing that we were going to do, because we're driving from essentially like Las Vegas area to Utah, and then we're going all the way up to like basically the border of Canada. And we wanted to cross over and go into Canada, but because of all the restrictions and everything with COVID, they closed the border. So even that I can't do now, this trip, like we had planned on doing. So It's like, I mean, obviously I'm getting to do all these other things. So I'm like, I'm not complaining about it. It's just, it's just like, there's always something that doesn't work out. But actually, I want to rewind for a second and go back to like the terrifying thing, because I heard that you had your bachelor party recently, and
it was terrifying.
Part of the thing of your bachelor party was they kidnapped you at knife point. without you knowing.
Yeah, of course. What's rough about that situation?
What?
The knives are what I got them as the thank you for becoming my groomsmen.
I find that brilliant, actually. That's pretty funny.
They're like, the moment you gave this to us, we knew what it was for.
That's when you know you have good friends. But I actually was terrified, like, because I heard about it before it happened. Like, Tim told me a little about it, but of course I couldn't say anything. But I was actually I was like thinking to myself, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I hope nothing goes wrong. Like, I hope that, yeah, like, they don't accidentally stab him. They don't accidentally scare him to the point where he fights back. And, like, it turns into this.
I pull out a 45. Yeah. I'm like, I'll protect you, Livin.
There's always that, like, risk, like, oh, what if the police see them? What if they get arrested? I'm like, guys don't think about these things. They're just out to have fun. That would
be the best experience.
But it went well. Obviously you didn't get hurt or die or.
No, I came out of it just a little hungover.
Okay, well, that's all we can expect. So, well, good.
Very good. Yeah.
So let me switch gears and go to. So we were talking about traveling across the country, and it made me think of
the Valley of Fire.
Not quite. But there was, so I don't know if you've ever listened to interviews on Joe Rogan's podcast, and I know he's kind of like a controversial topic, but he did this interview with
some fascinating interviews.
He has really good interviews.
I've seen like clips and stuff.
He does really good interviews. Anyways, but one of his recent interview was with this girl called I think it's Yeomi or Yenobi Park. And anyway, she is a defector from North Korea. She escaped.
Oh.
And it's a fascinating story. And I highly recommend people listen to it because not only just because it's an interesting personal journey and like crazy, survival story, but it's also like it really puts things in perspective and gives you a whole appreciation for so many things like that you just take for, like most people take for granted. I mean,
yeah, I think I heard a clip about her like talking about how it was like, and so like it's surprising you guys don't like use the internet to like figure out about other things, and they're like, we don't even know the internet exists. We don't even know you guys have the internet.
Yeah, they don't even know that we exist. Like they're like, I don't know. It was bonkers, like just bonkers, like how secluded they are.
It's weird, like the tiers of it, because I know like. Obviously, certain people have to know. Like, the higher up you go, the more information you must have. And I know I've seen, like, people that get tours, like, the very, very few people that are allowed to go there. I've seen, like, them have tour guides that are basically like, you can only, like, take pictures of or, like, videotape the things that we allow, and you have to use these cameras that we will, like...
Yes.
Basically censor before you leave.
They're very strict. And they only let you in certain areas. So, they only let you in the touristy areas. They don't let you in the rest of the country. So, and the rest of the country.
So it's interesting the people that run that.
Oh yeah.
What if you ran like the amusement park idealized version of your country to show other people while like everyone else was starving behind the like set pieces?
It's shocking. It's really
like it's like some kind of crazy dystopian like sci-fi novel or something, but it happens every day.
It is. It's unbelievable that it's happening today, like in this generation in this time period, that they're living at like a whole nother world where it's like it's like a different planet. It's like, I don't know, it's crazy. And she said when she left, it was like going to a whole another planet, and like everything was like shocking and overwhelming to her because
be like going to the future.
it was exactly like that. And
like compared to what she was living, like a utopian future.
I mean, she almost didn't believe her own eyes sometimes. She was like, she thought she was dreaming. She said she had to pinch herself often to like convince herself that she was actually awake. And this wasn't something, like she was either hallucinating or dreaming of. And it took her a long time to adapt and grow. And probably the most astonishing thing is where she is today. Like how intelligent and educated and progressive and just like
I feel like that's a person who's not going to take anything for granted when she has access. Like it's the same kind of thing with like people that leave Cuba and stuff. Like they're almost always massively successful because
Yes.
Like, we take for granted so much the opportunities we have presented to us on a daily basis.
Yeah. It's just a fascinating story. So, I don't know. And she talks about, her journey and like how she escaped and like how she had to travel through, hills and, it was touch and go there for like a long time. And then how she eventually got to America and how she, like, it was so crazy for her to even come here and meet Americans and how, because she was taught about Americans, but they were obviously the enemy. And so that they were actually presented to her as essentially like reptilian, cold-blooded monsters. And she actually believed that, obviously. And so she said that she had to like touch their skin to see like if they were actually cold and like not, and she was like, oh, they're actually like me. They're warm-blooded and they're nice, and they're not all of them, obviously. Like, she's not. And that's another thing, is like she has a very sort of rational and like nuanced like viewpoint and perspective of. So she's not under the impression that everything is bad or everything is good, or like she's still able to decipher between this is horrible, this is not, this is, I don't know. It's very interesting listening to her.
It's impressive that her, perspective survived being in like a funhouse mirror for that long, essentially.
That's nuts. And there's a lot of, it's very like I talked to some people that listened to it and they said they had to stop listening to it because it is very like, at least the first half of the interview
might be sensitive to some viewers.
It's very dark. I mean, she talks about like in details about what she went through, what people that she knew went through, and it is very like sensitive topics. So just keep that. It's a very heavy, I'll say heavy first half of the interview. The second half of the interview is they talk more about like her time here and all that. So anyway, that is really interesting. But speaking of that same type of struggle or whatever, I just finished this book called The Nightingale, which is was really good, but it was about two sisters that were surviving during World War II in France. And
cool.
It's really good. It's not, they themselves were not Jewish. So it was kind of like from the perspective of just people who were still drastically affected.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Yeah, because I mean, it's still like an occupied country, and people focus on, that like the worst of it. But it's interesting to think of, just the atrocities your average person encountered.
Yeah. And these were like, and it comes from like a female perspective of like, because they obviously didn't go to war, and they didn't, but they were fighting their own wars, within their reality. And one of the girls ends up joining like a rebellion group, and she goes through a lot. And the other sister is trying to protect her children.
Bold move.
So it's not as heavy as it would sound, but it is a fascinating story, and it was a page turner. It was like, anyways, that's also good. So I don't know. I recommend that.
Nice.
Have you read anything recently?
Still reading Dune. It's a big book.
Oh yeah.
I read slow.
Yeah. Okay.
It's really good. I hope to finish it before the movie comes out.
Oh yeah, they did say they were coming
movie.
out with a movie of the Nightingale, but not until December of 2022. So I'm like, oh, by then I'll forget. I'll totally forget the book. So it's fine.
You got to read it again before.
No. It's a big book. I'm not going to reread it, but I'll be pleasantly surprised by probably the movie. Yeah. So
nice.
Other than that, something else that's new is I got a treadmill.
Oh my!
I know.
Is it automated?
It's automated. Well, I mean, is it?
It automates your running.
Yeah, it takes my running to an automated level, so that counts.
Sure.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Is it nice?
It's like,
is it wide?
It's like, it's not the nicest. Obviously, it's not.
It's not the Mercedes of.
I mean, I could see. The sad thing is, when I moved here, I sold my treadmill, and I thought, because our house is pretty small, and so I thought, I don't really have room for the treadmill. I need the money at the time I really needed the money because we were just like financially overloaded. So I was like, it just makes more financial and like practical sense for me to sell it. I was really sad about it, but I was like, it's what needs to be done. You know, like sometimes you just have to do what needs to be done. So I sold it, and that was like 2 years ago. And ever since then, I haven't regretted it because obviously it needed to happen, but I've missed it. Yeah. You know, like I didn't realize how much I used it and how much it was a part of like my routines, and like, I don't know, I just missed it. So like for 2 years, I've been like thinking about it, and like
separation makes the heart grow fonder.
So I was really debating whether or not to get another one. But I ended up saying, you know what? I rationalized it enough that I ended up getting it. And luckily, it was only $100 more than what I sold my other one for. So it wasn't like I spent like a massive amount more than what I, you know what I mean? Like
decent upgrade.
Yeah, it was only a little bit. And I don't know if it was an upgrade. I mean, it's definitely new compared to my other one, but it's probably within the same
so at least you
model.
Got rid of the depreciating.
Yeah. I mean, it's factors. A newer, it's a better brand, and I think it's a better overall treadmill than the one I had before, but it's basically the same. It does the same things. It's, you know, on par with the same quality probably. I don't know. But it was a chore to put that thing together. You know, like assembly. Self-assembly is no joke.
Oh, man.
But it was...
Isn't it usually just like sticking in the post?
Oh, it is.
Like it's usually...
You think that? You think it's just usually just like, you just stick it in the post, girl. It's done.
Yeah, you just like, it comes in the two pieces and then you just stick them together.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. That's how easy it was. You're right. It was...
That's what I would assume.
Well, there's a lot of like, you have to connect the electronics, and there's lots and lots and lots of bolts and screws and little tiny screws, and you know, you have to get everything tight so it doesn't wiggle. You don't want a wiggly treadmill. That's no fun. It takes 2 people for sure. So, but it got done, and I'm really happy about it. So, and I just got it, so it's still new for me. So I'm like, you know, I was like really excited when I got it, but now I'm like, oh, I actually have to use it and get on it and actually. Like...
But you had all that time apart.
I know, I did. I used it.
Made your heart grow fonder. I've used it,
and I love it. So there you go.
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Anything new with you?
See, my problem with the treadmills is I always bust out of that weight limit and the belt slips on me.
Oh yeah, it does have a I feel like it is a kind of a low weight limit.
Yeah, I feel like it's always low, except for the, like, you got to go to the gym to get, like, real ones. That have, like, a 500-pound weight limit.
Not that you're 500 pounds, but...
Well, I mean, that's the level you got to get to before I'm under it. Yeah.
Yeah, so, that's the problem with tall people, because Mike has that problem, too. He's tall, and so it just adds, I guess, I don't know, extra bone weight.
And it really breaks your trust. It's like you're running on this treadmill, and it totally breaks you out of it if it slips, and then you almost slip because it's like, oh, suddenly I'm not running anymore. And then it's like you start to like overthink every step. You're like, am I about to fly off this?
That would be terrifying. That's true. Yeah, I even get terrified sometimes if I like misstep or something, and I'm like, ah. It's a good thing they have those handles, because normally I don't use the handles, obviously, unless I am falling. But I have tripped a couple times. If like I'm running too fast, I guess, for the speed, because sometimes I don't know, and then like sometimes I'll trip over my own feet. It could be terrifying. Yeah.
Classic.
Yeah, classic.
Yeah, you don't want the face burn, the rubber burn. On
have you
face.
Seen some of those videos of people falling on treadmills? Have you seen that kid that was on it and he fell and it went? The belt took him under the treadmill and he got stuck under there. Oh my gosh, that was terrifying. Yeah, I think he had like burns, like, you know, rubber burns or whatever, but he ended up surviving. But it was like, it looked like he was like a goner. Like you're like, where is, because it was on like a.
You're like, it ate him. It ate him.
It did, I mean, like essentially. But you're thinking like, where are his parents? Or like, I don't know, because like he's in this room.
Find this kid's parents.
But you think that all the time. I think you can't watch kids 24/7, but
yeah.
You just don't expect them to like, I don't even know like why the treadmill was on, because he was little. He was like 2 or 3 or something like that. And so like he couldn't reach it, obviously, to turn it on, I don't think. So I don't know. It was just weird. Right. But
and then there's like escalators, which are like machines that look like they can eat you even when they're functioning properly.
Yeah, they're usually like, have you seen the ones, I think they're in Japan. No, maybe they're not, maybe China. But they like break all the time. And there's so many over there that people get stuck and like killed on these escalators.
Oh my gosh.
Yikes. What is that?
Just an open escalator with a bunch of gears and stuff. All the gears that are under a escalator.
Oh my gosh.
Crunch you up.
Yeah, it could. And have you seen those people that are trying to be cool and like ride it and then they fall and it just like gets stuck in between? Oh man. Gosh. Escalator fails.
They're a goner. Yeah. So, be careful, folks.
Be careful, folks. So you have a wedding coming up soon.
I do.
It'll probably be before the next
it will.
The next recording. So
are we gonna record our normal recording time would be right in between my wedding and when I leave for my honeymoon. So.
we don't have to. We'll figure it out.
I don't know. We might take a break one month here, guys. Just keep that in mind.
Yep. We'll let you know.
Maybe we'll do a double recording when I get back.
Yeah, maybe I'll do yeah, we might have enough. Who knows? Backlog. Who knows? We'll see.
Anyways. I gotta go get that California dirt for you.
Yeah, you do. And I expect it. So actually, you got me a bear once. Like yeah. I still have it. It's still on my keychain.
San Francisco or something. Well, that probably
was that San? That's because I don't know. So was that San Francisco?
Yeah, it was San Fran.
Okay, so I thought it was from California, and anyway, his legs and arms fell off.
Yeah, they're long gone.
Yeah, they're long gone.
Popped right
I don't know where they are, but the body and the head is there. Yeah.
Excellent.
Anyways, but I get asked about it a lot because it is on my keys still to this day.
And you're like, oh, little chrome bear.
Yeah. Usually the kids that I work with, they're like, what happened to your bear? Or like, they're always pointing it out. And I'm like, are they like, where'd you get this bear? I'm like,
and then that's when you tell them a nice story about how he's paraplegic, but he's making his way through it.
Actually, I've never used that before. Probably should have. Nice encouraging message.
Yeah, for real.
True. Well, I'm in the process of planning a bridal shower for my friend who's getting married soon.
Well, there you
We're
go.
having her shower this month. It is a lot more difficult than I thought it was going to be. And so I'm like, props to you guys for planning a wedding.
Yeah. I can put you in contact with somebody who was a great wedding planner or wedding event planner.
I can imagine. But yeah, so
get some tips.
It's definitely been consuming a lot of my time. But I do think that I think I'm done at this point. I think I have everything organized, and
you always think
I know. Because I thought I was done last week, honestly, and then this week I still had to do stuff. But I think now I'm done. I mean, there's still some things, like little things I have to do that I can't do until like the around that time, like food and like balloons and stuff like that, whatever. But yeah, it's a chore. I'm like, so anyways, good luck. I mean, you're probably already planned and everything out, but because I would hope so by now.
Yeah, of course. I mean, we had like a year, so good stuff.
But
that's always nice.
Yeah,
more time the better.
Pat yourself on the back for all that work. That's all I gotta say.
Exciting.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Hey, you know what? You should come.
That is so nice. And if I have time, I will. I won't. It's not a priority, but I will definitely consider it.
Yeah, bring a chair.
Oh, I have to remember. Okay, well, that's gonna be difficult. Okay, well, I'll figure it out.
You want me to save one for you?
That'd be nice. I mean,
with that low priority,
like a sister, it would kind of.
Sister chair?
Sister chair, yeah.
Yeah, I'll call the people. I'll call the venue. I'll ask them if they have any
I don't want to put you into more work, but,
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Awesome.
It's fine.
Well, thanks. Thank you.
Well, thank you for listening to NKP. That's the North Korean podcast. No, it's a No Kidding podcast. And, we've it's been a journey.
Yeah, well.
I'm getting married now, and that marks the end of the podcast.
And the end of your singleton. Next time we record, you will be a married man.
I will.
Until then, ta-ta.
Ta-ta.
See you later.
And when we're in the distance, you'll hear this whispered tune. So long, very well, big cheerio, we'll be back soon.
Dun 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 dun. It's wedding bells.
Oh, was that? I didn't get that.
Oh, well. Welcome to the post show. This is my wedding. In a few minutes here, we'll be reciting the vows.
Hopefully to your wife and not to me.
Of course. You'll just be the commentator.
I'll be the aficionado. The overseer.
Are you ordained?
I could get ordained in 15 seconds.
you're like, I have a website, 15 minutes or less. I'll have my certificate here.
Yes.
Hello,